thank the speaker for her remarks, and I invite the government whip to continue the debate. The government can chair.
The opposition side arguments, but today's government side clearly told you this is the problem. Because of the pop idol, they make the misunderstanding social norm. They make the sexy is the most beautiful. Such teenager influenced by the same age pop idol because they are born the same generation and they enjoy the same culture, so they can have a sympathy or they can share the same sense. So that teenager, like such that 10 years or 20 years girl influenced easily by pop idol. Because of this, that many because of the pop idol dressing sexy clothes appear TV or magazine every day. So they make the social norm that sexy is the beautiful, and the children imitate such the clothes. Because that naturally such junior high school student or high school student have a desire to get the reputation from boys, from others, so they can imitate easily. And as a result, they wear such clothes and working abroad, and they get their the sex crime by adults because such clothes tempt adults. So such girls don't think about the sex crime, but unfortunately they get the crime by accidentally. It's the harm, it's the problem in society. So we should make the social norm through the ban pop idol with the sexy clothes, and we create a new, more neat moral for in society. So we should take this ban. First, yes.
First, if it is so harmful, why do you only limit the standard to people who are below the age of majority? If the influence is so bad, why not ban this emotion to everybody?
Because as I said before, the teenagers are most influenced by the same generation. So we believe that it's most efficient way to ban the girls' idol from the sexy clothes. I have two reflections. First, she says that different people have a different tastes, so their freedom of choice should be allowed. But as my Prime Minister and Deputy said, that their favorites or their taste are allowed in a private time, but public should not be allowed because public have a big influence on each person, and public have a social norm. So we should not admit in public such a sexy clothes, even if the people like the sexy clothes. And secondly, she said after taking this plan, such girls who like the sexy clothes are discriminated by society, but it is our purpose because we ban the sexy clothes from idol, we can change social norm. So many girls stop to wear the clothes. So and also we believe that such girls, a number of girls stop to wear the sexy clothes because they can see the idol in TV or magazine with neat clothes like long dress. So they think that sexy is not more beauty. No, thank you. Then I'd like to move on to today's clash point. First is that government's role. The second is this plan make the benefit or harm on the children. The first is the government's role. It's obvious in society their moral is destroyed by the sexy idols, and as a result, the many children are attacked by the child offender. So government should protect children from the criminal, and government should keep the social moral. So government have a right to protect children from society. They say that people have a freedom of choice, but this right should be restricted because this right is harm to society and harm to children, so their rights should not be admitted. The second is benefit, and this plan make benefit or not on children. Today's government said clearly show you that this plan make on benefit on children because they won't see any idol with sexy clothes in TV or magazine. So they want to wear such sexy clothes anymore because now such idol wear more neat clothes, so they think it's more cool. So they stop to wear the sexy clothes, and sexy industries are changing, so the children are protected by too much sexy clothes. As a result, that we can reduce the sexy child offenders, and also we can reduce the pornography because that adults can see such children with the sexy clothes. And today's opposition side said this is the kind of art, but they can express by another way, so there is no need to wear the sexy dress. So all these ways will be fixed, of course, afterwards this month.
Speakers go 7 minutes, 23 seconds.
I thank the speaker for her remarks, and I call upon the opposition whip to continue the debate for the opposition vegetarian.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker. Today, upon this debate, we are faced with a government that has many holes, that makes their judgments and regulations according to subjective standards. And by all means, we are talking about the definition of sexy in today's debate. Now, before I move on to any of my classes or our constructive arguments, I would like to point out some of the assertions that the government side has brought into this debate and point out the assumptions that they actually believe is true, but what is really not true in today's debate. Now, first, they believe that teenagers, we should limit this motion to majority who are underage because teenagers are the ones that are actually receiving the most influence. But according to the harms, the specific harms that this government has brought into this debate, kind of sounds like the whole society as a whole actually is influenced by them. To name them, they have actually talked about the distortion of beauty, increasing crime rates in terms of like rape and sex crimes, and all these possible harms that may happen due to this specific policy. But they have not really clarified to us how this only in the measure of teenage people, youngsters, are how these harms are actually apparent to these certain amount and age group. And secondly, they believe that by government, no thank you ma'am, by having the government to actually pass this motion, it will actually highly contribute to changing the social norm. But we believe that there was actually no mechanism, no explanation of how this actually is going to be happen by just banning the people who are underage to not dress sexually, Mr. Speaker. Now, to move on to my two major clashes, I have found I have found two clashes. First, upon the role of government versus the freedom of expression and the rights of the individuals, and secondly, about the harms of this motion. First, upon the role of government, yes, we concede to the fact that government has the perfect right to actually make these citizens aware and actually prevent them from getting potential harm. Well, they are making a great assumption that dressing sexually itself is actually causing detrimental harm to our society. We agree to this fact that government has the obligation to protect these citizens from gaining any harms, but we firstly believe that dressing sexually does not cause any harms to the individual, to the aspect of individuals, or the society as a whole. Well, to give you an example, no thank you ma'am, we as a government ban people's right to drink underage or drunk driving because this potentially harms the individual itself and the people around you. For example, drunk driving. If you drive drunk, it can actually threaten your health of course, and actually endanger you of your life, and also have the potentials of killing others. Thus, we conclude that the government only has the right to deprive of someone's individual right of expression or whatever kind of right when that individual actually intervenes in someone else's right or harms him or her herself. And we believe, on the other hand, is that secondly, the government does not have the justification to have these regulations under a subjective matter. Now thank you ma'am, let me briefly talk to you about, tell you about the term sexy. Now, the definition of sexy can differ in two circumstances. First, to what and who is the audience. Second, to what they think is sexy. It could be about, they might think, oh, that's sexy when it causes sexual arousal, or they might even express that it is sexy if it looks pretty and according to their standards. So, according to what and who and how we express this term of sexy itself, the terminology differs. Thank you. So the government has no justifications to actually have something subjective to hold against these citizens. And to move on to my second clash. Yes.
We agree that looking sexy is subjective. However, we disagree that dressing sexy is actually an objective thing.
I don't think you actually understand anything what I've said in my speech, so I'd like to move on to my second clash about harm. Yes, they believe that by enforcing this policy, it will have potential harms to the society by first having a distortion of beauty and increasing sex crimes and all, yes, like such. And no thank you ma'am. But we would like to ask the government to either clarify, understand, or fully explain to us if there's so many harms that are present in our society because of dressing sexually, why not ban completely about dressing sexually as a whole, rather than just banning it according to just a standardized and limited amount of people? We believe that the government has not justified to us to, if there are so much harm, to why we should have this particular age limit and address this problem to just a group of people in our society. And to talk about the harms that the opposition has brought into today's debate is that if we pass this motion, it will significantly have a big impact on discriminating other people in other occupations. Well, this question actually arises from our side because the government did not give any justifications to actually proving us to why it needs to be pop idols among other types of occupations that has significant impact and influence to the public as a whole. We believe that because this determination and clarification was not specifically made in today's debate, it is just discriminating the pop idols. In this case, they include both magicians, singers, and actors, that just because they have this job and just because they have the more likeliness and frequency of dressing sexually, that they are banned from freedom of expression, banned from actually forming and expressing that intention of art as a whole. So for these reasons, we believe that this motion should not pass. Thank you.
7 minutes, 13 seconds.
I thank the speaker for her remarks and invite the opposition reply speaker.
Before going into what the government has failed to do and what, as an opposition, we have contributed into the debate, I want to firstly clear out one thing that should have been cleared out in the first part of debate. How is dressing sexy an objective thing? As an opposition, we find it very hard to actually see how dressing sexy is an objective when they agree that sexy is a subjective matter. So sexy is a subjective matter, but dressing sexy is an objective matter. We say dressing sexy itself is a subjective matter. For example, we see in the internet sites, say a different woman wearing a same clothes, and people vote who they think is more sexier. And in this kind of case, we see how same clothes that they wear can be seen differently by other people and can be portrayed differently by someone who's wearing them. So why do they have to only limit this into people who are underage was the standard that we wanted from the government in the beginning. They have talked about the influence. They have a lot of influence. Okay, people who are over the age of majority, people who are not under the age of majority can also have same influence. But they said that they have more influence because people are being more influenced by the same generation. However, we believe that they will be influenced by people who are not under age of majority as well. These people include people who are adults, which means that they're not, just because they're adults, they're suddenly so old people that these young people will not get influenced. They include people who are still young but are just not under the age, which is adult. So they need to come up with justice of how they view their vague standard by coming with tangible harm so that it would actually lead to benefits. They made a lot of assumptions. For example, of how does dressing sexually suddenly lead to someone going around committing more sexual crimes and effing people, whatever, more women. But they did not come up with what the linkage is between dressing sexually and sexual crimes, and came up with an example of pornography, and saying that just because pornography is banned, we believe that dressing sexually should be banned as well. We see the distinction between pornography and dressing sexually. Pornography is more about direct image and the acting of sex itself, while dressing sexually is part of an art, like we said before. Even if this policy gets passed, we do not see that the problem that they're concerned about will be solved as well. And they keep saying that they will suddenly change the social norm. So we asked for them, give us the link of how this will lead to changing the social norm, and why is this so necessary in the first place. As an opposition, we had better analysis of the status quo. We talked about the specific industry of the entertainment itself more deeply, and talked about its right and the discrimination it will lead to when this policy gets passed. We have came up with examples showing how this will have a lot of harms and will lead to ineffectiveness of this policy even if it gets passed. So by proving them how this policy will not solve problems, and as a house that describes better of the government role of what it does not have right to determine what is sexy and judge people on the basis of them, and not judge all the people, but only the people who are underage without specific justification. We prove that it is the opposition that takes this debate home. Thank you.
Speakers spoke for 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
I thank the Speaker for her remarks and call upon the Prime Minister to deliver the government plan.
Just as my government whip has clearly pointed out that we did not hear quite clear argument from the opposition side. But however, since the beginning of the debate, we have clearly pointed out what the problem is happening now. Is that 10 years old or 8-year-old girls are wearing so sexy clothes, and there are more and more girls imitating them. But they did not answer us about how to solve this problem, just deliberately avoid it. And they just give us so many assertions. The first thing is that they think sexy is good as long as it pleases people. Whether sexy is good is not the issue we are talking about, but they say that as long as it pleases people, then we should not stop it. But it is so unreasonable that drinking is also good. It can please people. Pornography is also good. It can please the men better than seeing those sexy women. So we can allow them to do such kind of things. This is quite ridiculous. The second thing that this seems to talk continuously talk about whether where sexy is objective or subjective. Firstly, this is not what we are talking about. Since in my speech, I have already clearly pointed out that we ban them from wearing bikinis or half naked, and the opposition reply just tell us a story about two people wearing bikinis and people vote which is more sexy. This can have different results. But after our motion, then this kind of stupid and boring game will not exist at all, because people have these minorities, public minority cannot wear this at all. So we believe that we just limit them from what they are wearing. So we do not, we never stop them from being sexier or not. And the opposition side seems to base on two assumptions of opposing our motion. The first is that they think this is a kind of discrimination of children, just because that we treat the adults and children differently. But my Deputy Prime Minister has clearly tell you that, for example, the children cannot drink or cannot do such kind of things. This is the big difference. And my government week has already pointed out that since people have this tendency to imitate those stars have the same age of them, just like that middle-aged women like to watch soap opera, and these children are more tendly to imitate those children are as the same age as them. And their second assumption is that this can just cause some discrimination of other occupation. But our side quite do not understand what are they talking about so-called other occupation. Maybe they mean that some film stars actually in the movie. But we have clearly said that we stop all these kind of things. All these things happen in public, and this is quite clear. And on contrary to what they have told you, our government side has clearly talked about what will happen if the status quo continue. We tell you that firstly, more and more people will imitate this, and this just cause mislead people people's understanding of beauty. And this will cause the pornography to grow bigger and bigger, and will cause more and more children sexual offender cases. And we have told you clearly why government have the right to intervene, because it's government's responsibility to tell people what is right and what is wrong. Thank you.
I thank the speaker for her remarks and congratulate both teams on a great debate and invite them to take hands.